Welcome everyone, join us today as we delve into the life and legacy of Rob Grill, the voice and face of the grassroots, whose smooth baritone defined the sound of the 1960s and 70s. So let's dive in. Robert Frank Grill, born November 30, 1943 in Los Angeles, California, in the United States of America. He was zodiac sign Sagittarius. Born to Louis and Anna Jo Grill, with a brother named James, Rob attended Hollywood High School before enrolling at California State University. Though he initially planned to pursue a career in law, his passion for music ultimately took center stage. Shortly after graduating, Rob started working at American recording studios alongside his musician friends Corey Wells and John Kay, who would later go on to form Three Dog Night and Steppenwolf respectively. Rob became a key figure in the grassroots after joining the band in 1967. The group's origins trace back to Dunhill Records, where songwriters P.F. Sloan and Steve Barry initially created the grassroots as a studio project to capitalize on the emerging folk rock movement. Their early recordings, including the single Where Were You When I Needed You, saw moderate success, but the project lacked a consistent performing lineup. After trying to establish the name with other groups, including San Francisco's The Bedouins, Dunhill sought a more stable and polished act to bring their vision to life. In 1966, the label discovered the 13th Floor, a Los Angeles-based band featuring Creed Bratton, Warren Entner, Rick Koontz, and Kenny Fukumoto. The group submitted a demo to Dunhill, catching the producer's attention. However, with Fukumoto drafted into the military, the band needed a replacement, and Dunhill brought in Rob Grill. Rob, known for his strong and commercially appealing voice, quickly stepped into the role of lead vocalist and learned to play bass to fill the lineup. Sloan and Barry believed Rob's voice was the perfect vehicle for their songs, offering broader appeal than Sloan's own vocals. With Rob on board, the newly solidified lineup had the option to perform under their original name or adopt the already recognized moniker of the grassroots. They chose the latter, allowing the band to inherit the growing reputation of Sloan and Barry's earlier work. This decision marked the beginning of the grassroots' most successful era, with Grill's vocals at the forefront of blended rock, pop, and folk-influenced music. In their early days, the grassroots were one of many US guitar pop rock bands, but with producer Steve Barry's guidance, they developed a distinctive sound that blended British beat influences with soul, rhythm and blues, and folk rock. Their use of a brass section, a rarity among American rock bands at the time, set them apart, with groups like Chicago just emerging. While much of their material was written by Dunhill Records staff and performed by LA's Wrecking Crew studio musicians, Rob and the band also contributed songs to their albums and B-sides. Rob wrote frequently with Warren Entner and they were considered a songwriting team. Their breakthrough came in 1967 with the top 10 hit, Let's Live for Today, an English version of the Rokes' Piany Con Me, which sold over 1 million copies and earned a gold disc. Around the same time, Rob recorded a new version of Where Were You When I Needed You, solidifying his role as the band's lead singer. The grassroots continued their success through 1972, playing major events like the Fantasy Fair and Magic Mountain Music Festival during the Summer of Love. Their 1967 album Feelings featured more input from the band members in songwriting and performance, but failed to sell well, prompting Barry to regain full control and steer the band toward a horn-driven, R&B-inspired direction. By then, P.F. Sloan had left the project to pursue his solo career. On Sunday, October 27, 1968, the grassroots performed at the San Francisco Pop Festival as their hit, Midnight Confessions, their first record to feature horns, with Carol Kay on the iconic bass line, climbed to number 5 on the charts. They later played at the Los Angeles and Miami Pop Festivals in December 1968. Frustrated with Dunhill Records' control over songwriting and studio instrumentation, Creed Bratton left the band after a problematic performance at the Fillmore West in April 1969. He was replaced by Dennis Provisor on keyboards and vocals, along with lead guitarist Terry Furlong, forming a quintet. This marked the first of many lineup changes for the group. Rob claimed the band rejected Don't Pull Your Love and Love Grows Where My Rosemary Goes, the latter because one member had a girlfriend named Rosemary and felt it was unfair to include her name. Both songs were later performed live and included on their 2000 album The Grassroots Live at Last. The Grassroots, with new members, performed at the Newport Pop Festival in 1969 and the Vancouver Pop Festival in Canada. By 1971, lead guitarist Terry Furlong left to pursue a solo career, replaced by Brian Nocton, who also departed in 1972. Drummer Rick Koontz left, with new members Joe Pollard and Reed Kaling joining. Koontz returned briefly, replaced again by original drummer Joel Larson. During this time, Rob and Warren Entner remained the focus. Their hits from 1967 to 1972 included Let's Live for Today, Midnight Confessions, I'd Wait a Million Years, and Temptation Eyes, which was Rob's favorite song. By 1974, they left Dunhill and experienced lineup changes, with former members returning. In 1975, they released a self-titled album, which included the single, Mamacita, but follow-up singles failed to chart. The 1976 single, Out in the Open, marked the Grassroots' final release on Haven Records. After Knighton left, Alan Dean briefly joined, followed by guitarist Glenn Scholfer in 1977. ABC Records released a Greatest Hits album in 1976, but later that year Rob took a break from performing and recorded 14 greats on Gusto Records, featuring 1978 re-recordings of their hits with Provisor. Despite Grill owning the group's name and managing tours, lineup changes continued. By late 1977, Larson, Mark Miller, Brian Carlis, Lonnie Price, and Randy Ruff were performing, with more shifts in 1978 and 1979. The group appeared on HBO's 60s rock scrapbook, filmed at Magic Mountain in October 1979, with special appearances by Rob and Provisor. In 1979, Rob embarked on a solo career, releasing the album Uprooted, which featured Lindsey Buckingham, Mick Fleetwood, and John McVie of Fleetwood Mac on the track Rock Sugar. Stevie Nicks and Christine McVie did not partake on the single. He toured as a solo act from 1979 to 1980, opening for Fleetwood Mac's Tusk Tour with a band led by guitarist Rick Alexander. In 1980, as interest in 1960s bands resurged, Rob reclaimed the Grassroots name and led the group on tours across the US and Japan. By 1982, Rob introduced a fresh lineup of session musicians and released Powers of the Night, the band's final album of new material. That same year, the Grassroots performed a record-setting Independence Day concert on the National Mall, drawing over 500,000 attendees. After Powers of the Night failed to gain traction, Rob continued touring with various revamped lineups, including European dates in 1984 and appearances on the 60s nostalgia circuit, such as the Happy Together, 85 tour and later shows with the Monkees, Gary Puckett, and Herman's Hermits. By 1989, Joe Doherty joined as drummer, solidifying the band's lineup. In 1991, Rhino Records celebrated their legacy with a double CD anthology, cementing Rob Grill and the Grassroots as enduring icons of 60s rock. On January 16, 1999, former Grassroots members Joel Larson, Virgil Weber, and Creed Bratton, joined by Paul Downing, from Herman's Hermits and the Standalls, Justin Chatz, Dan Schwartz, and David Olson, performed at a 35th anniversary celebration at the Whiskey A Go-Go in Los Angeles, sharing the stage with Johnny Rivers, Nancy Sinatra, and others. In 2000, Rob released the live album Live at Last, followed by Symphonic Hits in 2001 with a symphonic quartet. A second live album, Live Gold, came out in 2008, and Mark Dawson, on vocals and bass, joined that year to cover for Rob when needed. The Grassroots toured heavily in 2010 and 2011, including the Happy Together 25th anniversary tour with the Turtles, Mark Lindsay, and others. Sadly, original drummer Rick Koontz passed away on February 25, 2011. Rob continued leading the Grassroots as sole owner and performed with the band until his passing. In total, Rob Grill composed 16 songs for the Grassroots and his solo album, including the A-side single, Come On and Say It. The remaining 15 compositions were featured as B-sides or album tracks. Over his career, Rob played on 16 Grassroots albums, with 7 making the charts, and contributed to 32 singles, 21 of which became chart hits. Personally, Rob's life was a tapestry of triumphs and challenges. He was married twice, first to Ariadne Ruskin, from December 17, 1970, to May 1975, during which they had a son, Christian Lee, born on October 6, 1970. His second marriage to Nancy Pilsky began in 1986 and lasted over 25 years until his passing. Rob endured ongoing health struggles, living with excruciating pain from a vascular necrosis for many years, a degenerative bone disorder. Multiple hip replacement surgeries led to a dependency on pain medication. In 2007, he faced legal trouble for obtaining the prescription painkillers from multiple doctors, a violation of Florida law. After pleading guilty, his plea was vacated upon completing a pretrial intervention program. In 2008, Rob's life was hit by tragedy when his son Christian, a drummer, singer, and composer, was diagnosed with melanoma which had spread. Christian underwent treatment, which initially was responding well, but just weeks after marrying his girlfriend Carla, the disease eventually claimed his life, passing away on August 11, 2010, at the age of 39. Overall, Rob's life, and that of his bandmates, was considered so tame and uneventful by industry standards that VH1's Behind the Music had declined to feature them, deeming their story not compelling enough for the program. Sadly, on July 11, 2011, Rob Grill passed away in his wife Nancy's arms at a hospital in Tavares, Florida, due to complications from a stroke. Following a recent fall that caused a head injury and brain damage, Rob reportedly suffered multiple strokes and spent 2 weeks in a coma before his passing. And there you have it. Though Rob Grill is no longer with us, his music remains timeless. As the frontman of the Grassroots, he gave us a soundtrack for love, heartbreak, and celebration, a legacy that continues to bloom through every note and lyric. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos just like this. Take care and bye for now.